So I want to thank you very much for inviting me here just to share a few thoughts and my experience. And I also want to thank those of you who stood outside the Newmont Hospital for the last many days. I've seen you on a daily basis. I grew up in a very strict Baptist environment, and I guess my life was more defined by what I can't do rather than the freedom that the Christian life gives us. And I think that's the emphasis that we should be presenting, especially with our young people, that the Christian life gives you freedom from sin, from bondage, from those things that will keep us down, that God does not want these manacles around us. He doesn't he will not withhold any good thing from us. And I think that's the emphasis we have to present. Because I know going through the churches, many times that's not the message, and it should be, I really think. I grew up, as I mentioned, in the Baptist church. I was the music director at Sunnybury Baptist. I grew up here in Moncton. And then at Highfield Street Baptist Church, which is just down the road on Highfield Street. I have 3 children. Jason is a musician and a teacher and an actor. He's teaching at Harrison Trimble High School. My daughter Jessica lives in Yarmouth. She has 2 children, and we always take time to brag about our grandchildren. She was very active at the pregnancy center here in Moncton, and she worked there for 3 summers. And she would give many concerts. She's a singer, and also sell CDs and give it back to the pregnancy center. She was a fundraiser for them. She just did on her own. She also wrote a lot of music that was basically saying, I'm saving myself for my husband. That's basically the message that she was presenting. And I have a younger son, Jared, who just graduated from NASCAD University at the Art School in Halifax. And I guess I must mention my oldest son, Jason, just graduated from UND a couple days ago in education. So our most precious gifts are our children, and abortion is not a form of birth control. I know we all understand that. One thing that Jessica found when she was coaching and counseling some of the young girls at the pregnancy center, after she explained different things, one little 12-year-old girl turned to her and said, "You mean you can say no?" Isn't that scary? Yeah. That's really scary. That was a revelation to me, that many times young girls believe that to be cool, to be popular, they have to do what they want. And we introduced some legislation just in the last couple of years, and we've been in opposition on the PC member, about a safe haven law. You've heard that many times young ladies are so emotionally, mentally distraught when they have a young child that they many times will abandon the child. So we brought in a safe haven legislation which would allow a young infant to be dropped off at an emergency center within 72 hours, and that life will be saved. Now, that didn't get passed, but there's a new government now, so hopefully we can get going with this. And by the way, I had Jody Carter all day yesterday, the new Minister of Education, because we have a crisis in our schools right now. Moncton High School is full of mold and water damage, and 5 other schools that are scattered all around, so I have to go to neighborhood meetings, and it's not a lot of fun. But that's the price you pay when you're in politics. So that is one thing that I just wanted to inform you all. Maybe some of you weren't aware of that. And the scary thing is, we have couples out there who are crying to adopt children. Right now, there are 139 families waiting for children. And the waiting list for infants is 8 years because there are no infants to adopt. And so that's what is really scary for me, because, you know, we have 1,000 abortions a year. It's just not right. And 90,000 in Canada. I just wanted to mention too that I believe in family, I believe in marriage, and many educators, and this is what George was talking about, they've simply given up. They've given up. They say, look, kids are going to be involved, so let's help prevent this. They've given up. I say, let's not give up on our youth. Don't give up on them. Always try to do what's right. Never, never give up on our children. Even though we fail at times, even as parents, we should never give up. It's just Satan's way of saying, look, you're no good. You can't meet the mark. But we should always keep trying. I mentioned earlier that many times in the young life we go through different things and we're influenced by our background. I must share something with you. As you know, we just had a 4-year job review a few days ago. It's called an election. It's something I've gone through 9 times now, 5 terms in City Council and 4 as an MLA. And my wife and I were standing outside of Hillside Baptist Church, which was a polling station. The lady came running over to us, and she said, all the way over, driving to this polling station, and this is a non-political thing, I'm just using an example, because I know you have all your choices on that, and I respect that. But she came to me and she said, all the way over here, driving to the polling station, I was hoping to run into a conservative that would tell me why I should vote conservative. She's never voted conservative in her life. And I'll explain this to you. Sometimes politics is almost like a religion. You know, you've always been liberal, or you've always been conservative, or Green, or EP, or whatever. And she was really struggling with it. She didn't want to just throw her vote away. She knew that one of the major parties would probably win, but she didn't really want to vote conservative, so she struggled with that all the way over. So she chatted with my wife, Rolene, and I for a while, and explained some of the programs and some of the social issues that we're involved with. Anyway, she went into the polling station, came out later, and looked like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. I voted conservative. I hope my family will forgive me and all my friends. Please tell me that, you know, she perceived conservatives as very narrow-minded, very judgmental, very up here. You never had any problems in your family. No one in your family ever had any emotional problems, mental problems, etc. That was her vision. And it was a real eye-opener for me. But man, did she ever struggle with that vote. And of course, I'll never know what she actually did. I'm not taking her word for it. Because many people say, yeah, I voted for you last election. They didn't work for you. And it doesn't matter anyway. People come to want help. That's why you're there. It's another method of servanthood. And I had no intention or aspirations ever to get involved in politics. And my mother, for her first period, I was running for city council. She said, what has gotten into his head? What about all the bad publicity and all this sort of thing? And when I was going door to door one day in Air Avenue, my first election, a couple came to the door. They said, we don't vote, we're Christians. That's what they said. I said, well, I'm a Christian, and that's why I'm running. Because I'm concerned about where 40% of my money goes and who's spending it. I'm concerned about the policies that government arrives at. And I've been struggling with that for 25 years, trying to elevate the position. And the only way you can elevate the position of politics is by keeping your word. And I started running with Bernard Gord. He had 200 days of change, 20 commitments. He honored every one of them, whether people agreed with it or not. He did. And so that was my first experience with politics.